So you've got £40,000 to spend on an electric family car. What do you buy? Maybe one of these, a Ford Mustang Mach-E. Brilliant piece of kit, love it. But how does it compare with the current king of electric family cars, the Tesla Model 3? We've already done separate reviews of both these cars on the channel, and they are brilliant in their own right. But how do they compare against each other, head to head? Today's the day we find out. But hold up, before we go any further, who wants to win an electric car? You? Good, because Autotrader are giving away a free electric car every single month, and it won't cost you a penny. Yes, I think we have gone a little bit nuts. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, then head over to the website to enter. All the details are down below. On with the show. Now that that's out of my system, let's compare these cars. Nice and simple Q&A format. First question, which one's the best looking?
Well, these are two completely different cars. The Mach-E is a smallish SUV and the Model 3 is a smallish saloon. I think they're both attractive, but given the fact that SUVs are in fashion these days, the Mustang might appeal to more people. It also scores extra points because of build quality. The Tesla is mostly fine, but if you go looking for such things, then you might find the odd panel gap, in this case on the bonnet and on the boot lid. Not a massive deal breaker in my eyes, but the Ford does seem more solidly put together. As for their interiors, very different. The Tesla has a very minimalist aesthetic, which I like, while the Mach-E is more traditional. Both are comfortable, both look good, just in different ways, which brings us to the next test.
Which one is the most practical? Well, some people might think that it's the Mach-E easily because of the shape. It looks like an SUV, doesn't it? But actually, they're a pretty similar size. Both cars have a front trunk. The one in the Mach-E is partitioned, so even though it's 81 litres, you can't actually get large objects in there. The partitions are there to stop, I don't know, children and animals from crawling inside, although there is an emergency release button. It's actually particularly good for going shopping and putting your carrier bags in there so things don't rattle about. The frunk in the Tesla is noticeably smaller, it's definitely shallower, but it doesn't have any partitioning, so arguably it's more useful for carrying larger bags. There is actually an emergency release button in there as well, although much more difficult for children to get trapped inside that. Importantly, the Mach-E has a distinct advantage where headroom and legroom are concerned. It just feels like a bigger, more comfortable car than the Tesla. Both cars have a completely flat floor, which makes things more comfortable in the back, but I did notice that my legs were in a slightly elevated position in the Model 3. So on the whole, I say the Ford is definitely the more practical car.
Next question, which one is the fastest? Well, they're both quicker than your average. The Model 3 Standard Range Plus has a single 175 kilowatt motor driving the rear wheels. Tesla say it will do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, around a second quicker than the cheapest Mach-E can manage. This particular mid-range all-wheel drive Mach-E can keep up with the cheapest Model 3, but it is more expensive. Ford promises even faster Mach-E's in the future, but even those are a fair way off the all-singing, all-dancing, supercar baiting Model 3 performance. So the Tesla wins on speed, but which is the best when it comes to interior technology?
Now this should be an easy win for the Tesla because it's got so much functionality baked into this 15-inch landscape screen. It's got things like an internet browser, you can watch Netflix on here, you can do karaoke, you can have a fireplace, you can literally play games on this using either the steering wheel or an Xbox controller. Only downsides are that literally everything is done via the screen. Even something as simple as opening the glove box has to be done via the display, and that can take some time to get used to. In the Mach-E, things are a lot more straightforward.
Ford did borrow some inspiration from Tesla with the design of this screen, and then tried to one-up them by making it half an inch larger than in the Model 3. They've also made it simpler to use by relying on physical buttons and switches for simple tasks like opening the glove box or activating the wipers. The user interface in the screen is also very simple, but the real beauty of the Mach-E setup is that unlike the Tesla, it's compatible with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Members of Knob Gang will also be pleased to hear it has a physical volume button cleverly integrated into the screen. So the Tesla wins on features, but the Ford wins on simplicity, which brings us to the next question.
Which one is nicer to drive? Let's start with the Mustang Mach-E. The thing you notice about this car straight away is that it has a much higher driving position than the Tesla Model 3. And if that's important to you, then definitely get this car. It gives you a much better view of the world around you, and that makes it easier not only to maneuver around town, but also just to feel comfortable when you're driving alongside other traffic. There's another couple of really nice aspects about driving the Mach-E as well, including the fact that it has proper blind spot indicators integrated into the wing mirrors, so you can see in your peripheral vision whenever there's someone in your blind spot to alert you not to drive in there. In the Tesla, you kind of have to look down at the screen and take your eyes off the road. It's not as good. The other thing I really like about the Mach-E is that it's quiet. The Tesla's quiet, don't get me wrong, but this is even quieter than the Model 3. It is a better insulated cabin in this car. Then there's the fact that all the controls feel a bit more intuitive as well. Using all the systems in the screen is a bit more straightforward and simple than in the Tesla. And also the feeling of things like your indicator stalks, it's just a little bit more slick in this car than in the Model 3. But it's not all perfect. The big drawback with the Mach-E is that the suspension is, I think, a little bit too firm. It's not undrivable, do not get me wrong at all, but it's very stiffly sprung. I'm not sure whether it's because Ford wanted it to feel like a Mustang, quote unquote, or because the car is actually quite heavy and that means that it has to be more stiffly damped to control the body movements. But either way, it does feel a little bit jiggly even over roads that aren't completely ruined. It's not a perfectly smooth experience. The Tesla's not perfect either by any stretch of the imagination, but it's slightly better than the Mach-E in that regard.
In terms of fun and driving dynamics, the Tesla has the upper hand. The steering is sharper, the car feels more responsive, it seems to have a lower center of gravity and feels more sporty and involving by some distance. It just feels more planted and secure. And it's hardly surprising really, because the Mach-E has a minimum curb weight of just shy of 2,000 kilograms, nearly 400 kilograms more than the Model 3. And that's very important knowledge when considering our next question.
Which car has the best range? Well, they're actually very similar. The entry-level Model 3 has a 278-mile range, according to WLTP figures. The Mach-E has a 273-mile range, so very similar, but they have different size battery packs. The battery in the Model 3 is around 50 kilowatt hours. The battery in this Ford is around 75.7 kilowatt hours, of which only 68 kilowatt hours is usable. So the Ford has a bigger battery, but has a slightly smaller range, which means that the Model 3 is noticeably more efficient than the Mach-E.
Interestingly, on the same journey, at the same time, on the same day, the Tesla returned between 5 and 6 miles per kilowatt hour. The Mach-E only managed between 3 and 4. As for charging, that depends on which one you go for. In the cheapest Model 3, the maximum charge speed is 160 kilowatts. That's 290 miles per hour of charging. The cheapest Mach-E only has a maximum charge speed of 115 kilowatts, or 230 miles per hour of charging. And don't get us started on the infrastructure. The Mach-E can use just about every public DC rapid charger, but so can the Model 3, which also has access to Tesla's own supercharger network. Easy win for the Model 3 here.
So, final question, which of these two cars is best? Well, actually, I don't think there is a best, because they're both exceptional family cars. They both have excellent ranges of hundreds of miles. They both have great rapid charging options. They both have great practicality. They're both very fast, and they're both enjoyable to drive. So ultimately it comes down to very fine margins, and it's up to the individual to decide which of those margins is most important. If you were going to hold me over a barrel and ask me to decide, I'd probably go for the Mach-E for practicality, but the Model 3 for speed of charging and for the thoroughness of their infrastructure. Ultimately though, if you find yourself in a position where you're trying to choose between a Mach-E and a Model 3, you're in a win-win situation. Hey Trader Gang, hope you enjoyed that video. Just a quick reminder, we are giving away an electric car for free every single month. You could win a Ford Mustang Mach-E or maybe even a Tesla Model 3. All you're gonna do is make sure you subscribe to our channel, then head over to the website to enter. All the details are down below. Good luck.